You have a code inside you. Every human, every tree, every bacteria. We all share the same code. But here's what's strange. Your entire body, your height, your eye color, even your risk of disease is written with just 4 tiny letters. A, T, G, C. 3 billion of them, fitting inside a speck of dust. So how does a microscopic molecule become a living, breathing, thinking being? In this video, I'll walk you through the 5 simple steps from code to creature. Please stay here and watch the entire video, and you'll never look at yourself the same way again. And as always, before we start, if you think this video deserves a wider audience, please hit like, share, and subscribe to support us. That's what keeps us motivated to bring you more valuable content in the future.
A single cell. It's so small, yet it contains everything needed to build a human? How? Is there a physical blueprint folded inside, or is it stored in some kind of code?
The answer is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, a molecule so simple, just 4 chemical bases, yet so powerful it can encode the entire blueprint of life.
4 bases? That's it? How can 4 simple chemicals create the complexity of a human? It's like claiming you can write an entire library with an alphabet of only 4 letters.
5 principles. 5 reasons why DNA is the master molecule. The code, the copy machine, the proofreader, the engine of evolution. And here's what makes DNA fundamentally different from any other molecule. It doesn't just do something, it says something. It carries semantic information in a way that no other chemical does. That's why it's not just a molecule, it's a language. Principle 1. The genetic code. 4 letters, A, T, G, C. They pair up, A with T, G with C. The order of these letters determines everything about you.
Just 4 letters? How do they code for thousands of different proteins? There must be a combinatorial logic, like how Morse code uses just dots and dashes to encode the entire alphabet.
Three letters form a codon. Each codon specifies 1 amino acid. The sequence of amino acids folds into a protein. The protein does the work of the cell, and the code has redundancy built in. With 4 bases taken 3 at a time, you get 64 possible codons, but only 20 amino acids. Multiple codons can code for the same amino acid. This degeneracy acts as a buffer. Some mutations can occur without changing the protein at all. It's an error-tolerant system, designed by evolution, not by an engineer.
So the genetic code is a dictionary, a mapping from DNA letters to amino acids, universal for almost all life on Earth. And the fact that the same code works in bacteria, trees, and humans tells us something profound. The code was fixed early in the history of life and has been passed down, unbroken, for nearly 4 billion years.
The genetic code is the first principle. It's the language of life, same grammar from bacteria to blue whales. Principle 2. Replication. DNA can make copies of itself. The double helix unwinds, and each strand serves as a template for a new partner, a perfect copy.
Perfect copy? Does it ever make mistakes? And if it does, Does the cell have a way to fix them before they become permanent?
Almost perfect. DNA polymerase, the copying machine, makes about 1 mistake per billion bases. That's incredibly accurate, but mistakes do happen. What's remarkable is that the enzyme actually proofreads as it goes. It has a built-in backspace function. After adding each base, it checks its work. If it detects a mismatch, it can excise the wrong base and try again. This editing on the fly reduces the error rate by a factor of 100, even before the dedicated repair systems arrive.
3 mistakes per copy. That's not many, but over billions of years, they add up. So the fidelity of replication isn't perfect, and that imperfection turns out to be essential. Without errors, evolution would have no raw material. Perfect copying would mean a frozen, unchanging genome forever.
That's the beautiful paradox, Minto. Replication must be nearly perfect to preserve life, but it must also allow a few errors, or life could never adapt. The next 2 principles, proofreading and mutation, are the guardians of this balance. One fights the errors, the other exploits them. Principle 3. Proofreading and repair. DNA has a built-in quality control system. Enzymes patrol the molecule, looking for mismatches. They cut out errors and paste the correct bases.
So DNA fixes its own mistakes? How accurate is it after repair? Is there a limit to how good the repair can be? A point where the cost of fixing errors outweighs the benefit of preventing them.
With proofreading, the error rate drops to 1 in 10 billion. Without it, life would be impossible. Too many mutations would destroy the information. But there's a deep evolutionary trade-off at work here. Repair systems consume energy. They're expensive to run. A cell that spends too much energy proofreading might be outcompeted by one that accepts slightly more mutations but grows faster. So the error rate we observe, 1 in 10 billion, isn't the theoretical maximum of what's possible. It's the evolutionarily optimal balance between accuracy and metabolic cost. Life doesn't do perfect. It does good enough.
So when the repair system fails, diseases happen. Cancer, aging. The quality control of DNA is essential for life. But the system is designed not to be perfect. It's designed to leave just enough variation for evolution to work with. It's a controlled imperfection.
Exactly. Proofreading is a tightrope walk. Too many errors and the information collapses. Too few, and life becomes a frozen library, unable to write new chapters. The error rate of life is tuned to a sweet spot, stable enough to persist, noisy enough to change. And that noise is our next principle, mutation. Principle 4, mutation. Despite the repair systems, some errors slip through. A single letter changes. This is a mutation. Most are harmless. Some are harmful. A few are beneficial.
Beneficial mutations? How can a mistake be good? That seems contradictory. Most random changes should break things, not fix them.
In a changing environment, a mutation that helps an organism survive becomes an advantage. The bacteria that resist antibiotics survive. The others die. Mutation creates the variation that natural selection acts upon. You're right that most mutations are neutral or harmful, but harmful is context dependent. The The same mutation that causes sickle cell disease in humans also confers resistance to malaria. In a world without malaria, it's a deadly defect. In a malaria-ridden environment, it's a survival advantage. Mutations don't have fixed values. Their worth depends on the world they find themselves in.
So mutations are the raw material of evolution. But here's what puzzles me. Most mutations are harmful or neutral. Only a tiny fraction are beneficial. The same process that causes genetic diseases is also the process that created the diversity of all life on Earth. You can't have one without the other.
Inefficient? Perhaps. But it had time. 4 billion years. And it had scale. Trillions of organisms, each a living experiment. Mutation is the blind generator of diversity. The next principle, evolution, is the filter that gives it direction. Together, they are the algorithm that wrote every species on Earth, including the one that can now read its own source code. Principle 5. Evolution. DNA changes over time. These changes accumulate. Populations diverge. New species arise. The tree of life grows from the same 4 letters.
So, all life is related? Humans and bacteria share a common ancestor? Then the entire tree of life is really a single family tree, and DNA is the document that records every branch and every divergence.
Humans and chimpanzees share 98.8% of their DNA. We share about 50% with bananas and about 25% with yeast. Every living thing carries the same ancient code, and we can actually reconstruct evolutionary history from these genetic similarities. By comparing DNA sequences across species, we can estimate when they diverged from a common ancestor. It's called the molecular clock. The steady accumulation of neutral mutations over time allows us to read the timeline of life itself.
So DNA is the thread that connects all life. The same molecule, the same code for billions of years. Modified, mutated, but fundamentally the same. We can hold a banana and know that half of its genetic recipe is the same as ours. That's not a metaphor, that's a quantifiable fact.
Exactly. Evolution is nature's tinkerer, not an engineer. It takes existing parts and recombines them. And now, Minto, we have reached a turning point in this 4 billion year story. We have not only learned to read this ancient code, we have learned to write it. The next part is about us, the species that became the editor of its own blueprint. And now, we have learned to read the code. The Human Genome Project mapped all 3 billion letters of human DNA. We have learned to write the code, too. CRISPR lets us edit genes.
We can edit DNA? We can rewrite the code of life? That means we've gone from reading the book of life to writing in it. We're no longer just observers, we're authors.
CRISPR is a molecular scissors. It can cut DNA at any location. We can then delete, insert, or replace genes. We are learning to cure genetic diseases, to create drought-resistant crops, to edit the human germline. CRISPR itself was borrowed from bacteria. It's their ancient immune system against viruses. Bacteria have been editing DNA for billions of years. We simply learned to repurpose their technology. Once again, nature invented it first. We just figured out how it works.
So we are becoming the editors of the book of life. We can fix typos. We can rewrite paragraphs. We can even create new chapters. And the technology came from life itself, from bacteria that had been doing this for eons. We didn't invent gene editing, we discovered it.
This is the power and the burden of understanding DNA. For 4 billion years, evolution was the sole author of life's story. Now, we hold the pen. We can correct the typos that cause inherited diseases. We can write new traits into crops to feed billions. But we can also rewrite the human germline, changing the story not just for one person, but for all generations to come. We are no longer passengers of evolution. We are its co-authors. 5 principles. The code, life's alphabet. Replication, life's memory. Proofreading, life's guardian. Mutation, life's creativity. Evolution, life's author. Together, they explain how a molecule with just 4 letters wrote every creature that has ever lived. And now, they explain how we are learning to write back.
So DNA is the molecule of life. It stores information. It copies itself. It repairs errors. It mutates. It evolves. 5 principles that explain everything. From a single cell to a thinking human, the entire journey is encoded in these 4 letters.
And these 5 principles are universal. From bacteria to blue whales, from the first cell to the last, DNA is the thread that connects all life on Earth. And here's a thought. DNA itself may not be the only possible genetic molecule. Scientists have created synthetic alternatives, XNA, HNA, TNA, that can store and replicate information. If life exists elsewhere in the universe, it might use a completely different molecular backbone. But the principles, code, replication, proofreading, mutation, evolution, those are likely universal. The medium may vary. The logic must hold.
And now, we can read and write this code. We are becoming the programmers of life. That's both exciting and terrifying. We've been given a tool that nature took billions of years to build, and we've only had it for a decade. We're still learning what responsible use looks like.
That's the question of our century. The power to read and write DNA is the power to redefine what it means to be human. We can cure the sick and feed the hungry, but we must also ask, what are we trying to build? A world without suffering? A world without diversity? The answer depends not on the technology, but on our wisdom.
We are not just the children of evolution. We are its new architects. But every architect needs a blueprint, not just for what we can build, but for what we should.
That's the lesson, my boy. DNA is the code. We have learned to read it. Now we must learn to use it for the benefit of all life. Because for the first time in the history of this planet, a species has decoded its own instruction manual. What we do with that knowledge will define the next chapter of life on Earth. 5 principles. The code. Replication. Proofreading. Mutation. Evolution. They are the reason why life exists, why you exist, why every living thing exists.
Thank you, Kyler, for showing me that the secret of life is written in a tiny molecule, and that we are learning to read it. and also that the ability to read it comes with the responsibility to use it wisely.
That's what I do, my boy. I help you understand the code. The universe is written in physics. Life is written in DNA. Both are beautiful.
The code of life. And we are the readers. And now, we are also the writers. That changes everything.
DNA, the molecule of life. 4 letters, 3 billion pairs, 1 code. The instruction manual for everything that has ever lived. The code of life is in our hands.